Okay, so thank you all for being here. I'm Carrie Mayu. I'm with Hutchinson Community Foundation, and one of the hats that I wear is as Iris Community Champion, which just means I am kind of raising awareness about this tool that has been in our community for about 2.5 years now, and trying to figure out how we can connect more people into it. So we're excited that you're here to learn how we can really expand the use of the tool. Um, as we've experienced through many of our nonprofits connect conversations over the last year, we were looking for ways to do more soft referrals, so kind of heads up to other organizations about people and their needs to help not re-traumatize people and having them tell their story over and over again. And also the need for a resource directory of programs and what they serve, what they provide to the community. So we'll come back to all that. Before I introduce our main expert in the room today on Iris, I'm going to turn it over to Denise Gillen Burbank at the United Way to give, again, a refresher on what's this current push to expand Iris, where's that coming from, and what's the larger context that we're working under. So Denise, are you ready?
I am, or as I'm ready as I'm going to be today. So the larger push behind Iris, as we have talked over the last several months and discussed No Wrong Door and this concept of helping people find the resources that they need, even if you're not that resource when they walk in the door. It became really evident quickly that we needed a way to do that. And so as Carrie and I were talking about that, Iris came back up. It's funded through our early childhood block grant. So it's a tool that we already have. And it's a tool that our early childhood programs use, and they use it fairly well. Carrie would have all of the data on how well it's being utilized through the early childhood sector. But basically what we want to do is we want to offer our community a way to connect in a manner that is not as burdensome to them. And so moving forward with No Wrong Door, we're hoping that Iris will play a really large part in that, and it will help us gain the data that we need as far as who's utilizing it, what services are being used, who do we need to get on board, what's missing, and it will really help us kind of figure out the missing links and what's working well and what is not working well. So one thing to just keep in mind, the whole No Wrong Door thing is an experiment, and it's a concept that other communities have used, and it's working other places, but we have to figure out how to make it work for us in Reno County. So we might have some trial and error, and we're hoping that after you guys see and hear Mary talk to us about Iris today, we'll be able to figure out how to use it the best way for Reno County.
Thank you, Denise. And we do have a few current Iris users on with us today. So those of you who are familiar with the system and see the potential, please chime in where you feel like it's important to re-emphasize something that's been said or something that gets that we haven't said. And for those of you who are new to Iris or are really curious about what this could do for your organization, please use this time to ask questions. Use the chat box as they come to you. Mary is so helpful technically and adaptively in thinking through lots of opportunities for Iris. So let's make use of her time while she's here. We will follow up at the end of this in the next couple of days with some directions for onboarding, what that looks like, how you can go ahead and take those steps to get your organization, your program onto Iris. So look for that in the coming days. Another part of our team locally, who's not able to join us at the beginning of the meeting, but might join us later, is DJ Gehring, who's the public health analyst at the Reno County Health Department. He's been behind all of the COVID data and numbers and analysis for the last year. So he's been in the background, being really important for our community. He also serves as the data manager and community manager for Iris. So he handles kind of the technical side of Iris for our community. Just so you know, that's who DJ is. But right now, I want to turn it over to Mary Orem. She's with the KU Center for Public Partnerships and Research. And she came to Hutchinson with her team 3 years ago this summer and went through the whole implementation process with our community. Has really been alongside us this whole way. So she's really familiar with our Reno County system and with the potential for Iris. We've also given her the background on these kind of larger hopes we have for it as a tool in our community. So really happy Mary is with us today, and I will turn it over to you, Mary.
Thanks, Carrie, and congratulations. Center for Public Partnerships and Research is quite the mouthful, and you nailed it. Well done. As Carrie said, I am lucky enough to have been the implementation coordinator for Reno County since the beginning. I've gotten to work alongside Carrie and her team as we started with the focus on early childhood, bringing together those partners and kind of piloting the tool in the community. And now I've been so excited to hear about all of your time and commitment and response to how COVID has impacted your community, your nonprofit resource meetings, and kind of now this vision for No Wrong Door and connecting families to resources. It's exciting to hear about, and even more exciting to think that I can support you in any way. So I'm going to provide kind of an overview of Iris. I know we have a lot of folks in the room with varying levels of exposure to Iris, some current users, some folks that are kind of learning about it from the first time. So just know that I'm here to provide you with whatever information you need to leave here today with a thorough understanding and kind of an idea of this vision. I'm going to walk through the system and kind of provide a demonstration of how it might be used in your community. But I really want it to be a conversation. So if you have questions, as Carrie said, toss them in the chat box, and I will try to keep an eye on that. Or Carrie, if you will nudge me if I miss anything, or feel free to unmute yourself and please let me know what it is that you need to get out of today. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and start talking. I'm going to show you the Reno County training environment. This is a training environment, so all of the data is, of course, fake. It was exciting to me when Carrie came to me with this idea of No Wrong Door in your community, because it instantly clicked in the ways that it really aligns with Iris. It's all about not only relieving that burden, I think, as it was mentioned earlier, from families in getting connected to resources, but really helping them feel empowered about the choices they have of where they can receive services, being informed about what that will look like, and helping providers such as yourself really just have a thorough understanding of not only what's available in the community, but what current capacity looks like, what current programs look like. I know with grant cycles and that type of thing, programs can shift, and not everyone gets that message. But hopefully, with the use of Iris, everyone can be a little better informed and a little better connected. So there's 3 different ways that Carrie asked that I kind of demonstrate a referral happening in Iris, or kind of the usage around Iris. And that is that it can be used as a resource directory. You can also use it to make direct referrals, that meaning that you are communicating with a partner and anticipate that that partner will then reach out to the family to try to engage them in services. Or this idea of kind of a soft referral, providing the family with the information about the program and really empowering them to make that step to be connected to the resources. So again, you'll see I'm in the Reno County training environment. You will see maybe a few familiar names, but none of this is real. I try to just make it as realistic as possible in a training environment. So the first thing that I'm going to show you is kind of the resource directory side of things. If I scroll down here on the left-hand side to partner organizations, this is going to give me a view of all of the partners that are available within my network. This does not mean this is every resource available in the community. These partners are onboarded into IRIS. They agree that they have this kind of shared expectations for how the tool will be used. They agree that any information within the tool will be used in a confidential and private manner. And really what an IRIS community is about, it's about coming together and collaboratively working with a network of partners to better serve families. This means meeting on a regular basis, which I know all of you have been doing anyway, taking the opportunity to kind of review data that will be available in IRIS, and we'll take a look at that here in a little bit. Just what we were talking about, I appreciate the idea and approach that no wrong door is an idea, and it will likely be an iterative process. Trial and error is important. IRIS is used across the country by all different types of communities. What I love about the tool and working with communities is that it's simple, but that means it's flexible, and we need to remain flexible to meet the needs of your community. What's working in Sedgwick next door may not be what works for Hutchinson and Reno County. And so just kind of having those conversations, making sure that the tool is working for everyone in the community and that we're kind of adapting based on needs. So if I need to simply review what resources are available in my community, perhaps I am working at the Hutchinson Public Library. Someone comes in, has a conversation, and in that conversation, they maybe express this need that they are seeking home visiting services. I can log into IRIS, view my partner organization profiles, and again, this is going to give me the entire list. I have this on the right-hand side. It's the service areas. These are reflected by the partners in your community. It's actually an area that is configured by the community. And so if I'm looking for home visiting services, I can simply click here and search, and it's going to bring up my partners that provide that service. So if I want to learn more about this partner, I can click here. It's going to give me not only the name of the organization, their address. This capacity bar really represents this organization's ability to receive referrals at any time. All of this information you see here is updated by users at the organization. So you know that it's going to be the most relevant and up-to-date information. There will be a primary contact, someone I can reach out to at that organization should I need. Any eligibility criteria that may impact receiving services, the purpose or the programs that that organization offers, and then all of the applicable service areas. You can also add fields to this profile if there is additional information that's relevant for users in your community. Perhaps you want to know hours of operation at particular programs, or you'll see this upload file here if you want to attach a brochure for whatever partner information or a specific referral form. Perhaps you would like to be able to share with a family what it will look like for them to receive a referral and perhaps be enrolled in services at a program. Whatever it is that you'd like to share, you can add that to this screen. So that's kind of the resource guide side of IRIS. Any questions? I think I saw a chat come through. Thank you, Carrie. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and go through the process of actually sending a referral in IRIS. I'll start by kind of explaining what you're looking at right here. So this homepage is really the main dashboard for all of your referrals in IRIS. I'm logged in as a user at the library, and I wanted to provide the example that though you have the ability as a partner to either send or receive referrals, you may choose to do one or the other if need be. So perhaps it's important for the library to be connected because they see kind of non-traditional clients, folks that just come in seeking just someone to connect to, some direction to go, but perhaps they have no reason to necessarily receive referrals if they don't have particular programs or anything like that they would receive referrals. They could simply update their capacity bar and say just that. We don't receive referrals, but we will send them through the system. And so if this organization received referrals, you would see those here on the incoming page. I have sent out a couple of referrals from this organization, so I can see those cards here. And if there were any recently complete, they would be viewable here as well. You'll see throughout this process that referrals are demonstrated by these cards. And you can see the status of the referral through the visual representation of a blooming iris. So these referrals have only been sent because they're simply a seed in a pot. Once a referral has been accepted, you will see a sprout grow, and that's just acknowledgement from the partner that they see the referral and they will attempt to reach out to the family potentially. You also have the ability to reject referrals. You would see a seed with a no sign through it, and then a fully completed referral will be a fully bloomed iris. So we'll walk through that process here shortly. Just kind of wanted to orient you all to what's going on here. So in order to make a referral through Iris, I'm just going to click make a new referral up here in the top right-hand corner. And so I have the ability to either search for a family that has already been referred, and I can do that by just entering first a couple letters of their first or last name. I'll see their name and then their date of birth so that I can confirm I'm sending a referral for the correct client. If I search and the family isn't available, I can click add a new family down here in the bottom right-hand corner. And this is something that we'll talk about as you're onboarded, continuing conversations in the community, but it is of course important to gain consent from a family before entering any information into Iris. So we know that can look a little bit different at every organization, especially during COVID when folks weren't able to see families or clients face to face. So Iris will not specify what consent has to look like at your organization, but you will need to verify that you have gained proper consent before entering any information. So I'm going to create just a basic profile here. None of these fields are required. So if you don't have an email address or a phone number for a family, it is of course helpful contact information if you're going to try to engage them in services, but it's not required. So I'll just make up a phone number and a date of birth here and hit save. And so now if I need to make a referral on behalf of Drew and his family in the future, I will simply be able to search and find their name here. Before I can proceed, I do have to verify that I've gained consent for this particular referral as well. If I had been able to search for Drew, I'd want to be able to verify consent before sending a referral. So I'm going to click next. And that takes me to my partner selection screen. And this is going to be similar to kind of the resource side of things that I showed you just briefly earlier, except now we're actually in the process of sending a referral. So down here below, I will see a list of every partner in the community. I can also see the visual representation of their capacity bars. There are a couple of features to help users make informed referrals about where they might send a family, and those are our service areas up here at the top, and see details. So the service areas, as you kind of saw on that resource page, will help me kind of filter down the types of services I'm looking for. So I have all my partners available here. If I'm looking for Spanish-speaking services, I can click here. It'll pop up the partners that provide those services. And again, these are selected and controlled by users at the organization. I think it's important to have not only local control over this information, but also organization control so that you can inform your partners as quickly and easily as possible about what's going on at your organization. So I'm going to say that I'm meeting with a family and they have expressed interest in some home visiting services. So I'm going to click home visiting here, and that's going to narrow down my services here. I can apply additional filters if I'd like. So let's see if this filters it down further. If I needed Spanish speaking services available for home visiting in this mock-up community, I would have one partner selected for that. And then once I have kind of narrowed down my selection of partners, I can click see details to find out additional information. So I see that there are slots available. I can talk to the family about what the eligibility criteria is at this organization, their purpose, get a feel for if this would be a good fit for the family that I'm referring. And so if I decide that Parents as Teachers is the right fit, I can go ahead and click that card and make a referral on behalf of that family. You can make multiple referrals at any given time. So we know sometimes families need multiple services when we're sending referrals. So if I had a family who, let's see if we'll click immunizations, maybe not. Let's see, I'll say housing. It looks like there's housing services available in this community. So again, I could click on this referral card, and I now have multiple referral partners selected for this process. I'm just going to quickly check in the chat. Anything that I need to touch on? Thank you,
Mary, there's
Carrie.
address, can
Awesome.
you address that first, house security and kind of the outages question?
Oh, absolutely. Thanks, Glenn. So we have all of that information outlined in our data security policy manual, and I'll be happy to share the link so that folks can kind of look over that. It's a lot of information, but we know it's very, very relevant and important to some. So I will make sure I get that information out after this meeting. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and continue with the process of making a referral then. And so we talked a little bit earlier about the difference between a soft and a direct referral. So direct referral being that it's two community partners communicating about a family in order to engage that family in services. And then of course, a soft referral, a family would do the outreach on their own. So I've kind of just mocked up an example of how both of those options could be utilized in the tool. I will say a couple of nice things about offering a soft referral, but still communicating with your referral partner. Number one, a family won't get kind of lost to follow up or fall through the cracks if perhaps something comes up and they don't reach out to the partner. There could be this expectation that perhaps there's a week or so window where you allow the family to engage. And if they don't, there's a soft follow-up from partners just to make sure that circumstances haven't changed or whatever needs to happen to make sure that family doesn't fall off people's radars. Also, the ability to kind of see data across the community as well. You may have this soft referral. You're providing the information for family to go to the service, but really being able to track how many times that happens across a community, and then the ultimate outcomes of those. What is the difference between kind of enrollment rates, whether a family is softly referred or has a direct referral? There are all kinds of ways that we can kind of look at the data. And so these fields that you see in front of you make up kind of a shared referral form in IRIS. So no matter who you're referring to in the community, you will share the same types of information. You will always know what is expected of you when you need to make a referral to any partner in the community. These fields are determined at the community level. We had conversations throughout the implementation process, and we'll likely have continued conversations to make sure any onboarded partners' needs are met. So one thing we talk about is that this is really about a warm handoff. It's not about capturing all of the details about a family's life. Again, you don't want to re-traumatize them by making them tell their story over and over. So this is really about sharing the amount of information you need for a partner to kind of pick up the torch, if you will, and say, we've got this family, we'll reach out and try to engage them in services. And so again, I just kind of mocked this one up as an example, and then we have a few just kind of common referral fields here as well. Something else that's good to keep in mind as you're kind of configuring these in a community is kind of just what I described here. If there is a data point that you're interested in capturing community-wide, whether that's demographics, geographic location of services or families served, that type of data can be captured here and looked at community-wide. So I'm making a referral to parents as teachers on behalf of Drew Jones. So I'm going to go ahead and say this is just a soft referral. I'm going to put in a fake address here and say that the family is seeking home visiting services. So there can be an expectation in the community among partners that because this is a soft referral, parents as teachers will allow the family a week or so to reach out before they either follow up or whatever process will work best for all the partners involved. And so I click the next screen, and because I'm making multiple referrals on behalf of this family, I now see that this is a referral going to Interfaith Housing. And this is a little more of a serious need, perhaps. I'm going to say that this is a direct referral. I want my partners over at Interfaith Housing to reach out to this family and try to engage them as quickly as possible. And so all of the information I entered on that previous referral will be copied over so that I don't have to re-enter it if that's appropriate. But because these are different referrals, I'm going to go ahead and change some of this information and say that family in need of emergency housing assistance. You also have the ability, if you choose as a community, to have an upload file feature if there is any reason to kind of share documents when a referral is made. So I'm going to go ahead and submit that referral. And now I've sent 2 referrals on behalf of Drew Jones and his families, that soft referral to parents as teachers and a hard referral to Interfaith Housing Services. So now I can kind of come back into these and I will be able to review all of the information attached to that referral, who it was referred to and by. Over here on the right-hand side, I'll have the ability to communicate with my partners over at Interfaith Housing to make sure that this family gets connected to services. All of the information in the referral is also viewable down here below. And you also have the ability to see this client view. And so this client view is going to be very limited information. It's just going to include, let's see if I can click off this. Screen's freezing up a little bit. There we go. It's going to include where the family is being referred, the information about that organization, their purpose or the services they provide, and then who's made that referral on their behalf. So if you want to take a screenshot of this and provide it to a family if services are happening virtually, or if you want to print it out and provide it to a family if you're able to meet with them in person, it can just be nice for them to have some information about, excuse me, kind of where they're being referred and for what services. So that's the process of sending a referral. If I ever need to come back and check in on those referrals, see how they're doing, I can find them easily in my outgoing referrals section. And so now I'm going to go ahead and switch over. You also have the ability to have switch access here on the left navigation menu. So if an individual, a user, needs to have access to multiple partners within Iris for whatever reason, it's very easy to just switch access. So I've given myself access to a couple of organizations in this community just in order to provide demonstrations. So I'm going to go ahead, and now I'm logged in at Interfaith Housing, which means I see an incoming referral for Drew Jones sent by the Hutchinson Public Library about 2 minutes ago. So I can click on this referral now, and you'll see the screen looks similar to the one it did on the other user's profile. All of the information will be the same, What's different is that now I have the ability to either accept or reject this referral. And so if based on the information I see here, I know that we can't serve this family for a number of reasons. Perhaps they don't meet eligibility, we don't have capacity for this referral, requested services aren't provided, or we're already serving this family. You can of course select other as well and add additional comments. If I reject this referral, a message will be sent to the original referring partner to let them know that perhaps they need to find a more appropriate service that will meet that family's needs. For the purpose of this demonstration, I'm going to go ahead and go through the process of accepting a referral. So I'm going to do that here and just let my partner know, thank you, we'll reach out today. Because I know this is kind of a serious situation. They asked for timeliness. So now I can go through the process of attempting to reach out to this family, engage them in services. Again, along here on the right-hand side, you'll see that all of this information is time and date stamped. If I add additional comments, say I'm trying to reach out to this family and their phone number isn't working, I can ask if there's a new phone number that I can reach the family at. Again, that expectation of a soft referral, depending on what organization it's coming from, maybe you don't see that family again. Maybe you're just hoping that they stay connected, and there's an understanding maybe that if you are working the ticket booth at Fox Theaters, perhaps you won't see that client again, and you won't be as much of a resource in supporting the referral process, but you're still making that attempt to get that family connected. And then once I have done my due diligence, I've reached out to the family, tried to engage them in services, I can close the loop with my referral partner. Or again, if this is a soft referral, just again, that ability to kind of let my partner know that that family came in and ultimately had one of these outcomes for the referral. Either a family can be enrolled in services, perhaps ultimately they decline services from my organization. Perhaps we couldn't contact them, or any other number of reasons why a referral may be completed. We'll go ahead and say that the family is enrolled in services, and any number of housing needs that could have come up, but we'll just say their housing needs have been met. And that's the complete process of a referral in IRIS that's now available on my recently complete screen for both referring partners. Carrie, we doing okay in the chat section? Okay, so I'm going to briefly touch on some of the data that is available to both partner organizations and the community as a whole. So again, IRIS is a referral and communication tool. It is meant to connect partner agencies and support them in connecting families to services. But there's a lot of very useful data that can come out of that process. And so over here on the report section, there are a couple of reports that are built into IRIS. This community referrals report will show you the current status outcomes of the referrals across the community. And so this is a great way to kind of get a bigger picture of what's happened in the community, and also see how your organization is a part of it. And so I can set a couple of date parameters if need be. I just ran the report to include all referrals, and you'll see it's a training environment, so it's not a robust data, but you can see again those current statuses of the referrals and then their outcomes. Down here below, you'll also be able to see how many referrals are either sent or received by each partner organization. And this starts to give you a picture of kind of the need of services in the community. If you have perhaps a local food bank who has just an exorbitant number of referrals, their capacity is always limited. Perhaps there's something that the community can do as a whole to find additional resources for food security, that type of thing in the community. And so again, no client level data at this point, because it's community, it's aggregate, and it just kind of gives you that big picture. Other reports that are available are specific to organizations. So This is an incoming referrals report. It's going to show me all the referrals that my organization has received. And again, I gave myself access to multiple programs in the community. So I'm just going to select one of those and run a report, and you'll see it's similar. But this is going to tell me where my organization has received referrals. So start to see kind of that picture of your common referral partners. And then over here on the right-hand side, I'll be able to see the statuses and the outcomes of those referrals as well. The final report built into Iris is just the other side of that. These are outgoing referrals that my organization has sent using Iris. And again, you can set date parameters if you're maybe reporting on a specific quarter, a grant cycle, whatever it might be. You can set those specific date parameters. And then I'm just going to go ahead and run this, and you'll just see, again, it's the other side of that. These are all the programs to which my program has sent a referral. These are those statuses and the outcomes. You do have access to all of your referral data under the All Referrals section here. So this will include, again, there's a table here that will have all of your recent referrals. You can see number of referrals this week, percent accepted, and kind of an average response time. If I'm looking for specific referrals, whether on behalf of a family, between partners, or perhaps certain statuses, if I'm looking for all the referrals that we've received but haven't acted on yet, I can filter that down here easily. And then you can also set date parameters as needed. And all of this data is exportable. So again, if we're capturing specific data points, such as soft versus direct referrals, all of that will be exportable and filterable by every organization. So that is an overview of Iris, several different ways that the tool can be used, whether it's a resource directory or to send and receive soft or direct referrals. Are there any questions that came up that I can help address through the chat, or if anyone would like to unmute and ask any questions right now, I'm happy to do that as well.
Can you give different permissions to different team members at your organization?
Great question. So everyone at an organization will have the same permissions per se. You can update your organization profiles, send or receive referrals as need be. You do have the ability to receive notifications through Iris. So if you are a member of a team who strictly sends referrals through the system, I'm thinking kind of a home visiting program. If you are a home visitor, you may need to send referrals on behalf of a family, but there's likely somebody who's dealing with all of the incoming referrals agency-wide. You could assure that just that individual received the notifications of all new referrals your organization was receiving, so that those home visitors had the ability to send, had the access to send, but weren't inundated with new referrals that they didn't have to interact with. Good question.
Actually, I have two questions. First is the old IT guy in me is coming out. Where I'm assuming that this is an online system. Where is it housed, and have there been any major outages in the last couple of years?
Great questions, Glenn. I would have to refer back to that data security policy manual to get you all of the particulars on where all of the data is housed, because I do not want to speak out of turn. I know that's important, but I can speak to no major outages in the last several years. I've been on the team for over 3 years now, and thankfully have never experienced such a situation. So, but I can actually, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and just drop that link in the chat box.
And the other question I had is, we're obviously connected through computers. How compatible is it with used through, say, an Android tablet?
Oh, Great question, Glenn, and something I should have started with. Iris is mobile friendly. So whether you are on a smartphone, a tablet, or a computer, it is intended to support providers in the office and on the go. So we do recommend that you use Chrome, Firefox, or Safari. Iris does not play nice with Internet Explorer.
Thank you.
We had several questions come up in the chat about, my organization does this, or, I have this role. Would Iris work for me? How could I use it? So I'm curious if anybody else has that question, like you're wondering how would I use this? Would you ask that question now? Because it's likely that somebody else in the room has the same question or a similar question.
Yes, please do. I love workflow questions.
Well, I can throw out, you saw me, or maybe you saw me, maybe you didn't, but I had to step out for some of this demo because we had somebody come to our food pantry. And while we were doing this, not only did I supply their needs, but I made a referral for housing to them, to somebody else. And I made a soft referral. They will follow up. But this would have been a perfect example of when I could have done it instead of just giving them a piece of paper.
Glenn, thank you for being a real-time example. That's precisely right. You'd of course want to have the conversation with the family about here is, and that's I think where the kind of that upload file feature is helpful on that profile. If you want to send them away with a brochure, with something, right, allowing the family to kind of make that connection for themselves, but you could have connected with your partner here to just make sure that they eventually made it through their door. I love that example. Thanks, Glenn.
So how is this program any different than what we listened to recently, the MacLink that was done through the health department?
Denise, yeah.
So MacLink is really a system that keeps track of resources and services that a person has received with other MacLink users. And Shauna, please correct me if I am misspeaking because you are the MacLink Pro. It doesn't always, it doesn't provide the referrals. So that is kind of the piece that is missing with MacLink is it doesn't provide the referrals where it does keep track of, say they went to the Salvation Army and they got help with rent and they received help with the food bank. And then maybe they went to First Call for Help and they received help with their water bill. So you can kind of see where the gaps are with MacLink, but you don't always have the means to make the referral to get a family back on their feet.
The other thing I'd add is that Iris is not a database. We are not tracking a person over time or even across programs. It is really for making sure that the connections are made to help them close the gaps that they're experiencing and seeing the follow through on that. It's not for telling their whole story. You also, if Interfaith makes a referral to St. Vincent de Paul, parents as teachers will never see that. They won't know that that ever happened. We will see it on the aggregate level of just where the connections are happening, but not on an individual scale. So that's one of the very cool visualizations that I can share with you on the back end is what does it look like, this kind of referral map across our system and who heavily refers to another. Again, right now it's really heavy on early childhood, the maternal child health program at the health department, and the Reno County Infant Toddler Program are the two biggest users. But the more programs we get in here and the more that our partners use it, the stronger this network is going to be and the more confidence partners will have in using it. Ideally, Iris can replace the need for a fax. Some people are still faxing referrals. Can replace the need for a really long email chain, or calling to say, hey, did you get this referral? I left a message last week. Certainly we want to encourage those outreach opportunities to still happen between partners, but maybe hopefully in a relationship building way and not in a particular, hey, making sure you got this sort of way, if that makes sense.
Okay, you say it's not a database, but it is a database because you're storing this information about your inquirers.
It does capture and collect some information, you're right, in ways that a database would, but it's more of in a workflow and between two partners. I will also quickly share kind of what Carrie was just touching on. This is an example of, and this is a pretty outdated one, but an example of kind of the type of information you can capture. In the early childhood realm, it was good to see kind of where those referrals were happening. And then another example of kind of data that can be available to you. We send out kind of quarterly dashboards to each community. So we want to support you and your partners in being able to see the big picture of what's happening in the community, referral trends kind of across month to month, and then quarterly as well. We also capture kind of partner engagement, who's involved, where has a lot of activity happened, and then also kind of the sectors that are involved in communities. And response time. So you're right, it's not intended as a database, but there is so much communication that happens when a referral happens. It's just a great way to kind of capture that and make it available to all of you to use in a meaningful way. Addressing kind of gaps in services, addressing where funding should go. If there is a particular need, I think especially over the past year, all of you know, you've been in the thick of it, kind of the areas in which need has always been there, but may become even higher to the surface over the past year. That's been really obvious in a lot of communities and kind of where referrals are being sent.
Mary, there's a few questions in the chat that Shauna just posted. I wonder if you could address those.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Shauna. So sorry about your computer issues. I think we've been there. It does allow for an organization to track referrals that you make, not only where they're going, when they've happened, but will kind of keep you in the loop. There are a couple of different times throughout the process that you will be updated on kind of the status of a referral directly by your partner. If an organization doesn't have a profile, can they be inputted that someone referred to an organization that isn't on here? Nope. So you can only refer to partners that are involved in the process or have onboarded into Iris. And really that's because this is about not just a tool, a layer of technology to make this process easier, though that is nice. It's also about all of you coming together and working collaboratively. So if a partner isn't at the table in that way, it's typically not as meaningful to kind of have just their information available, though it's certainly possible. There's a section, the community document section, if a partner maybe doesn't have a reason to be involved in any way, but is a resource in the community and you want their information out there, that type of information can be housed within the tool. You just can't make a direct referral or soft referral, if you will, to that partner. And then, oh yes, Carrie is recording this. So anyone who wasn't able to join us today can view it at a later time. There is not a limited number of partners that can join. Something I should have, again, started with at the beginning is that we are not tech vendors. My background is in direct service in case management. We are also in the essentially social service industry. We are here to support you and your community. So we cost at a community level. We don't want to cost per user. We don't want to cost per organization. We don't want to put that limit on communities and the way that they can grow and kind of use the tool in a meaningful way. So no restriction on number of partners or users at an organization to escape the system. It is very easy to deactivate users if individuals should leave an organization for whatever reason and no longer require access to Iris. It is a very easy process to simply deactivate them. And similarly, as new staff are joining programs and may have the need to access Iris, we have recorded trainings available. As you can see, it's a very simple tool, but training is always helpful. So we have recorded trainings available that users can watch, and it's very easy to add users as well. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
I have been into Iris with Interfaith Housing and Community Services. I will say this, and I'm going to kind of go with what Glenn just said. You know, I just got off of a financial education to a group that I could have probably made 5 easy referrals if the, 3 of them could have gone to Circles of Hope. 1 of them could have gone to Salvation Army, and then another one to a church. So it would have been so easy if I would have had, more people on Iris instead of I get a card out and we find the phone number and I write the phone number of where to call on my card. And then if you can't get hold of them, contact me back, and that's just a lot of contact for the individual. So.
Thank you, Lacey. I appreciate that other kind of real-time example, and a great reason to kind of focus on expansion and involving as many partners as possible. I really, again, approach Carrie, Denise, all of your focus on kind of a community-wide consistent approach for just that reason. Stacey, or Lacey, I'm sorry. If you have more partners involved, the more connections you can make.
Yeah, and I want to make 2 comments. One, it's not, we can have partners that are not based in Reno County. So MidCap, Michael is with us today. So even though he's housed out of Wichita, he can be a part of our system. He could also be a part of the Sedgwick County system and wherever they serve. We do have at least 1 statewide partner. I'm going to forget their name, Kansas Ombuds Office.
Ombudsman, very good. Yeah,
Ombudsman,
yep,
yeah.
nailed it.
So if you have partners, that don't regularly come to our table in this community, but you refer to them a lot or you receive referrals from them, you can do that advocacy to them, say, hey, we need you as part of our local Iris system. And they can be a part of multiple, like I said. I know that's one of the things that keeps coming up in our early childhood conversation is, man, we really wish we could get the clinic. We wish we could get Wesley out of Wichita. And we've been working on those over the years. But it comes down to you as a partner advocating to your other partner that they need to be a part of the system. The second thing is, I see Jacelyn from the Art Center on here. And one thing we heard from Chuck at the Fox Theater over the last year is that, they're not natural places for people to go in and ask for services, but it happens anyway. And so the Fox could be on Iris, the Art Center could be on Iris, and again, not accepting referrals, but saying, let me use my tool, person who's asking for help. Let me see if I can connect you to the resource, or at least give you, who would be the resource that you need. And with the capacity bar and the organizational information and the service kind of filters, hopefully you would, get to where you're giving them the most accurate, current, appropriate resource, or making that soft referral. So I think Denise and I especially see the value of this cross-sector in Reno County for connecting all those dots, and yeah, serving as a tool, but really helping all of us communicate better, and really close those gaps for families in ways that we know, like Lacey said, like when you hand somebody a card and say, yeah, go across town and search out this person, you don't know what the follow-up is going to be. You don't know if they'll make it that far. You don't know if they're already defeated and they're not going to try. So yeah, we believe this is really has a lot of potential. So Denise, I saw you unmute. Go ahead.
I was just going to add that, the more partners that we can get on board, the better picture we're going to have of our community, and what the needs are and what we're missing and what we're potentially not funding or overfunding. So, when Carrie and I look at things like this, we look at this from an entire systems point of view, as far as how is it going to affect the entire community. And so there's a lot of conversations that we have as funders, like, well, we need more data, or I wish we had this data, and that will help us get that picture of really what is going on out there in a big picture sort of way.
So we're almost at our time limit. I want to respect everybody's time, let you transition to your next thing in your day. If you have any other lingering questions, I will stay on for a few minutes, and if I can't answer, then I will get the answer from Mary. But please do look for a follow-up in the next few days about next steps. Again, there is an onboarding process. So if you want to use Iris, you will have to complete the onboarding process to keep everything secure, and kind of sign the agreement that you agree to everything that all the partners have agreed to. But beyond that, it's a very simple, useful tool. So we hope that you will sign on, and again, ask any questions you have. There are no bad questions. So thank you all for your time. And again, too, I'll send out this recording so that you can share it with others in your organization if that would be helpful. Okay. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Carrie, I do have